Hello and welcome to Heavy Metal Rex. My name is Oasis, and today I wanted to take a look at some of the more higher horsepower cars that we really don't get much of a chance to see or talk about because for whatever reason, a lot of these people don't advertise enough, at least in my opinion, that their cars are making so much power. And if they do, I don't know where the hell they are advertising because I haven't really been able to see it. I've got a list of a couple of cars and an honorable mention here or there about some cars that are more than just like your basic bolt-ons. You know, we're talking turbo kits, custom port injection, and actually a lot of like different custom stuff because a lot of these people are really working to push the platform beyond what just most of us, even myself, would even be able to do comfortably. Now, to be fair, these are mainly shop cars and they do tend to get a lot of special treatment versus cars that are just like cars like yours and mine. But it's still fun to see what the potential is, or what, you know, one would consider as like kind of the, I don't want to say like upper limit, but kind of what you can expect from some of these cars. And if you get some of these same parts, you might be able to hit the same numbers. So let's kind of take a look at this. And these are actually off Facebook that I was able to find. So first we have the TPG tuning car. This one, I remember seeing this a couple of months ago. And I was like, oh, you know what? I got to keep an eye on that. And then I never really saw it anywhere else. And then I forgot about it. And then just today when I was putting this video together, I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to see what was going on with that. So here's Nathan Silveri, who posts pretty much most of the stuff here about this car. Here, this is their car. And some of you who are in this Facebook group probably have already seen this one, but I, for whatever reason, just keep missing it. This one also is making 660 wheel horsepower on E85 and 450 on 93, which is a crazy number, which is pretty crazy, but the way they're doing it is interesting. And this will be the theme for most of the cars that you'll see here is you kind of need to have some sort of turbo kit to make that big old power. So in this case, you know, they have a stock F824, which I don't know how many times they've run this car, but they have a ETS G770 turbo kit with a front mount intercooler. It is running a Motec kit. They do have port injection on there, which looks like they have a custom kit from IBR, the BRZ manifold, which I believe that's something that they used on the F820 to get that port injection there as well. And they have a couple of other custom things here too, you know, like they say PI fuel system, flush mount handbrake, front mount pipe for the BRZ. Well, obviously a lot of that stuff needs to be custom made as well. This is running an STI transmission. Oh man, I cannot imagine what the stock transmission would do putting this much power, this much torque in it, because if you're making 660 wheel horsepower, you're probably over 500 torque at least, bare minimum. It's probably even in the 600s. I couldn't find a whole lot of other information about this car in terms of what else is in it. I believe it is full interior. Yeah, it's got like a full interior in it too. And they did post that they did like a 10.5 second pass, which is, oh, the car looks so incredibly mean. I hope to one day do something like this for drag racing. That's pretty awesome. Here you go. So 10.489 at 133. That's a fast car. That is an incredibly fast car. So that's, I don't know if they're still doing this. This post is from December 29, 2023. I assume that they still have this car. Hopefully, I got to actually find out where TPG is because I'd like to actually go out there if they still have this car, just to kind of be able to take a look at it. Now, the next car I want to talk about is actually the Felix performance car, which I actually went out to go see this car last year. And it's also making about 660 horsepower. They're also, again, running an STI transmission. They have a bunch of custom parts that are not on Motec, which is really interesting. I don't remember exactly what they were on. Now that I think about it, I probably didn't even ask them. They are also running a ETS G770 with a 3-inch ETS cord. James did mention that he was going to move it over to a 3.5-inch core, which it's still a lot of power. As far as I know, this car is still running and still kicking. And when I make it out back to Maryland, that area, I'm gonna check this car out again for sure. And they know I'm coming. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm actually gonna be in Boxerfest, Pennsylvania, and I know that they're coming out there, but I don't know if they're gonna bring this car. If they do, I'll be able to get an update on there and see exactly how it's going. James has taken this to the drag strip a few times, so I assume it's still kicking. I mean, it has an STI transmission on it, and if something happened, they probably would have posted it. They're actually like pretty good at that. So this car is at least one that I have the opportunity eventually to even drive. You know, maybe I'll just bring James lunch or something, and he'll let me get in there. Now the next car This one I've known about for some time, and this was recently sold, which is crazy because I saw Rick Wilson from, DRP? That's right, DRP down in Florida. They started building this car, which was an incredible car. It was like one of the first ones I saw, and especially when I saw this picture with the wing, I was completely sold on that wing. It's a good-looking car, also has a lot of really interesting parts in there. So when they sold it, they did list that it had a new OEM FA24 short block. I don't know if something happened to the old one, and I try to go through here to see. I don't remember because, so I saw this car at Subi Fest last year in Florida, and I did actually get a chance to talk to Rick Wilson. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it on camera, but the car was like fully gutted. It was making like tons of horsepower. You know, they did have a lot of custom stuff on there, on the engine, obviously, because they were also running port injection. They were also running a Motec in here. I'm pretty sure they were running a Motec. Does it say here Motec anywhere? I thought that they were one of the first ones that were running Motec, but what's really interesting is they actually went with the Cosmic upgraded turbo. They say 450 is what it makes. I know that at one point this car was making a lot more than that. I'm pretty sure it was closer to 500. But I mean, a lot of this stuff was like one of the first few ones that I was able to follow that was doing a lot of custom stuff with mainly the port injection and Motec and stuff like that. Obviously, it also has a STI transmission with a carbon fiber drive shaft and tons of, oh yeah, right here, Motec ECU. Tons of stuff. They actually were able to take this to the track a lot, which I thoroughly appreciate because I like drag racing, but I really, man, track racing is just something else because I feel like it gets stressed on a longer term, if that makes sense. Like I know drag racing is pretty rough on certain parts, but I imagine just staying at like full tilt for like 20 minutes at a time would probably do a bit more than drag racing, I think. Maybe that's different, I don't know. So this car sold. I mean, if they sold it for 39, that is an incredible deal to get all of that for, I would have bought it. If I didn't have a WRX, man, I actually considered selling mine and buying this because this thing is like built. And if something happened, oh well, you know, I have some people that I can talk to where I would just take it down here to Ecotech because I mean, this thing it had everything in it and it was ready for even more power. So now there is one other car that I did talk about in a previous video that I did like 9 months ago, and it was STI Mikey. Now, this isn't the car, this isn't the post, this is just some other post where STI Mikey was talking about launch control and stuff like that, but it was one of these cars, and they were running them pretty hard, and they were also making somewhere in the middle of 500 horsepower, and I think these were actually on stock transmissions, if I remember correct. And you guys are gonna have to correct me in the comments. I don't remember. And I think something did happen to their engine. And I never really heard, I actually tried to find that post on his Instagram. I never heard anything about these cars like ever again. And I thought that I saw somewhere that he was gonna maybe kind of cut back on how many Subarus that he was tuning because of like some issue. I don't really get too much into the politics about what's going on here, but I remember that he had these cars. I haven't seen anything else about them. They were making 500 horsepower and they were doing like incredibly well on the drag strip. And then I just never saw anything about him. So an honorable mention in his car's place is the only other car that I know it's like pretty built is actually Joey Montalto's car, which he's running actually a G30 900 turbo. So he can make way, way more power than like some of these guys can, or probably the same if he eventually gets like port injection and on the IBR manifold and maybe even Motec or something different, you know, maybe something beyond Cobb. And I think as of right now, he's only running 93, making somewhere around 400. I know he hasn't hit the dyno yet, so we don't know the exact numbers. And I hope that he does one day because, dude, that car is incredibly built. I actually been telling him that on my way down to Florida for CBVS, I'm gonna try to stop by because he's kind of on the way. He's only like 3 hours out of the way. And it would be fun to drive that car. I think it would be such an awesome car because he's got like everything you could imagine on that car and then some, right? So I put these two guys together as an honorable mention because I couldn't find any other cars from STI Mikey. And come on, Joey, I need you to take it to the dyno. Please take it to the dyno and because I don't think he has an ethanol tune. I don't know if there's ethanol down there, but that car is going to be making some incredible power, and it probably can handle it too. I think he said he wants to wait until he gets a short block or a long block from IAG before he does it, but I'm like, just send it. Send what you got. Everybody else seems to be fine. So that's kind of all I was able to find. I actually did look around on Instagram and on Facebook, and I really wasn't able to find more cars If you guys know of any other shop cars that are like crazy modified and tuned like these, let me know. But what I would like to do is, in a future video, I would like to do this same type of video, but for people, for actual people, like subscribers or watchers or like that. If you have a car that is highly modified and you're making like over 400 horsepower and you got something cool, please let me know. Send me an email at heavymetalrex@gmail.com, and maybe I can compile some pictures and some footage and some information from you guys and make a video on that, because like it's cool that the shop cars are doing it, but they're shop cars, right? They're gonna do it. That's their job, and that's their advertisement, right? That's how they do that stuff. That's how they say, hey, come over here and do what we have, and you know, that's how they sell parts. But the guys outside, or the gals outside who have these cars just to own, and they do that stuff, man, it's a different breed. So let me know if you have some cool stuff done, and maybe we can make a video about it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Before you go, if you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hitting that subscribe button costs you guys nothing, and it gains me everything. I try to provide as much entertainment and information as possible, whether you're looking at my racing series, Vehicular Acceleration Testing, or you're looking at Tuner Talk, which is actually a great series for newcomers and veterans. My only goal is to try to make the VB community better, and I can't do that without your help. Thank you.